Hey guys, welcome back to another video about my new Supernote. And today I just want to take a more of a kind of deep dive on the hardware because one of the things that I really like about this tablet, and something I wish more companies would do, is make it modular. So this is kind of something that we took for granted because a lot of technology back in the day, with the older cell phones, were pretty modular. Not to this degree, but this one you can actually replace the battery, expand the storage, but you can upgrade the motherboard, which is super cool. So this essentially gives you, repairability, but also longevity. So if there is significant upgrades, down the road that Supernote makes, instead of buying the whole device, they can sell you a new motherboard, maybe for half the price. So this, I think, is a good way to protect your investment, essentially, because this is about, what's the latest price on this one, actually, $459. So, $459 I don't think is cheap, but also not expensive when you compare it to some other tablets. But in a way, it's a very good investment because you know that you'll be able to have longevity. The battery eventually degrades, you can replace it. Motherboard, I think, is super cool. But let's take a quick look closer to what we have here. So everything's kind of housed in the back. So from a modularity standpoint, the first thing you have is removable pen loop. The box gives you a couple other options, but this just unscrews and you can remove this altogether or swap it out for some of the included ones that you want to use. And then everything else is behind the battery case. And then over here you just have this quick switch which helps release the folio cover. But first thing we want to do is put in the SD card and take a look at the back. So taking off the battery cover, pretty basic, but yet could be tricky. So I actually did it wrong the first time. So now I'm going to show you how to do it properly. And really what it is you unlatch the bottom and then slide down. And you can unlatch it with your fingers, but I don't have much of a fingernail, so I have a little pry tool, and all you got to do is simply release. I think there's like 3 or 4 clips here at the bottom, and then slide it down. So yep, 1, 2, 3. So 4 clips right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once those are down, you just slide down, and it pops off. And then this reveals kind of where everything is. So here, you've got your battery, motherboard, SD card, and so pretty well organized. But let's take a look to see what it all looks like. So everything is covered nicely with these metal shrouds, but we're gonna go ahead and just take a look to see what we can uncover there. So a couple of quick screws. And these come off very easily. No stripping. It doesn't feel like it's gonna, damage anything. And there we go. Okay, so it's the whole battery. Pretty cool. So here we go. What kind of battery we got here? Lithium ion. Pretty, nothing else really to see here, but there you go. So pretty easy to replace this yourself, actually, very easy. So let's put this back in. I put him on. It was just a little easier to do it kind of without the camera in my way. Very small, but very easy to put in. So put him back in. And actually, this is actually kind of a nice tool they gave you because the top rotates, so it makes it a little easier to work with. But now, let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at the motherboard. So it looks like the motherboard is held in by these 4 screws. And then, so motherboard, we'd have to unplug some stuff. And I don't know if I really want to do that, to be honest, because there's nothing to see here. So I'm not going to go through, I'm not going to remove the motherboard, but this is a system on chip type of motherboard. So there's really nothing there other than a bunch of, capacitors and processors and just a typical circuit board, but runs the RK3566 CPU. So it is a pretty standard kind of chip that you would use for these kind of devices. It's a 2020 release, I believe, is when this was released, and it's really more optimized for low power draw. So it's not a powerhouse CPU that you would probably put into like a, an iPad or Android tablet or a computer, because you just don't need that kind of power here. This is just simply an e-ink display. So what you want is obviously power longevity. It's a 64-bit processor, quad core, so plenty of power to do what it needs to do. So let me put in my SD card. And it just springs in. So that is it. That's the back of it. Let me just give it a quick, it's my OCD, get rid of the fingerprints. Okay, and then to close it back up, you kind of reverse everything. You get it about a little bit of a ways down. You get all the kind of clips to pop in their place, and then you just push it up. And that's it. And then once you've got it like this, you just put these clips back in, and presto. And back it goes. And that really is kind of for the modularity. And then open it up and you're ready to go. So that is just a quick look at the hardware. And a few more kind of notable hardware points to call out here. That is going to be the screen. You're looking at almost an 11-inch screen. And really the big, deal is the resolution. It is very crisp and sharp. You're looking at 300 ppi, which I think is really good for an e-ink display. But if you look here, you can just kind of see the crispness of this device. Okay, and so here I have a couple different image samples just to kind of show, the, what do you call it, the kind of the clarity and the crispness of the image. So first we have a picture of the CPU specs. So you can kind of see, you can read this. It's a pretty small image, but it's extremely legible. And this is a color image, so you can kind of see how the colors appear in kind of monochrome. Over here we have, this is just a screen grab from their website. Again, it shows kind of the clarity. This is, the camera may not capture it really well, but you can read this. This is very tiny print, but it's extremely legible. Like, you can read this no problem. Okay, next what I want to look at is going to be actually some kind of color photography. So this is just a picture I took with my phone, and it's actually a couple of Michael Jordan cards, but you can kind of see how all the color and detail show up in the monochrome. So there's a lot going on here. You have two cards, a lot of colors. It does a good job of kind of putting it into monochrome. And lastly, it's a picture of one of my watches. So again, you can see all the letters. Over here it says Japan movement. So it's a very sharp display. If you're someone that likes to read, like, this will be perfect. I don't like to read in general, so I'm not going to use the Kindle app, but the display is very sharp. That's kind of the key takeaway here. It's going to be great for reading documents, editing documents, anything that you're going to be doing with a lot of, letters, detail. This will handle it just fine. But yeah, that is the quick kind of look at the display. So a few other quick call outs are going to be some of the dimensions. So like I said, this is a very light, thin feeling device. And what we're looking at here is 6 millimeters in thickness, and it tapers down to about 3.6 millimeters at the thinnest. So basically it's about 6 millimeters at its thickest, which is pretty thin. And then weight wise, with the case, it comes in at about 467 grams. So again, a light device. And then coming back to the screen itself, aside from the nice sharp display, we have what Supernote calls basically their FeelWrite 2 film. And that is the new film they applied. And of course, all their pens, what they're kind of known for is their ceramic tips, which basically never need to be replaced. So combine the ceramic tip with this new FeelWrite 2 film. What you do is you get a very nice writing surface. So if we go back to it, so there you go. Yeah, very nice. So that's it. That's kind of the hardware we'll look over. That's it. Next, we'll talk about, in the next video, we're gonna talk about the pens a little more detail. And over here, this is your Heart of Metal Pen 2, which is basically kind of the newer version of that. And then obviously the Lamy Safari Vista EMR pen. It is kind of cool though how it's translucent. I like it because it looks and feels like a real pen. So if we were to take kind of, a real pen, it kind of has the same look to it, which I prefer. So pretty cool. And then my other two ones. So I'm actually gonna do a little blind testing as well with my wife. Have her try all 4 pens. I'm gonna have her also try both of the tablets, my new one and old one, and just kind of see if she can tell a difference or has a preference on which one she likes. So stay tuned for that one to come. Until then, have a good rest of your day.